Chief Luscombe, thank you so much for joining us here today.
You bet.
You're a chief over at the East Texas Fire Department, but I'd like to kind of introduce your background, how you got involved in the fire service to begin with.
Sure. So I was a young man, 18, looking for a career, and went to see a guidance counselor at the college, and they were like, "Hey, this really looks like it might match what you want to do." Well, that was EMT school, and time went by, and I got into the fire service not long after that. Because I thought, if I want to do this for a lifelong career, the fire service has a lot of different avenues and directions that you can go in. And so I followed that path, went to the fire academy, and I've been with East Texas Fire Department. I started there in about 2006 or 2007. I also worked for the City of Humble Fire Department for a while, and altogether I've been doing this now for just about 25 years. So well, not as long as others, but a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, well, we got to meet you a few years ago, and I was impressed because you had some ideas that weren't of the norm. You were talking about doing some training rotation
Hmm.
videos that immersed your people into that training so they could feel like that they were there. And so we got to work together on that. We've done
Hmm.
some recruitment videos, pat test videos.
Yep.
Tell me how the videos have helped your organization and brought up the level of training for your staff.
Well, one of the things that I learned very quickly as a chief officer is that time is of the essence. And I can't be in more than one place at one time. And I wish I could have cloned myself and, I could take care of multiple problems simultaneously. But unfortunately, that's just not the case. So, in efforts of trying to instruct our staff and develop them as leaders and officers and firefighters, I found it to be incredibly convenient and repetitious, as well as consistency through training people through videography, through some of the videos that we've done. It helps me be in multiple places all at once, and the best thing about it is it's never different, right? So some of the tasks that we teach can be redundant. And, if you go from one instructor to another, sometimes there's a few little differences. And when it comes to the basic skills of fighting fire, you really want those to be the same way every time. So a lot of those videos that we've done with you guys, we've attached those to our phase training books, and in a way that we in the fire service, when we're instructing, there's kind of a path that we follow. See one, say one, do one, teach one. And once you reach that end goal of teach one, you have mastery level understanding. But the C1 part is what needs to be redundant, repetitious. It needs to be consistent. And that's what we've been able to achieve through some of the videography that we've done with you guys.
That's great. So, Chief, thanks for drawing that out and showing us, exactly how that's impacted your organization. As this evolved and we started doing that, we saw other opportunities to help you continue to tell your story through social media.
Hmm.
And social media is a platform that we don't think is an option anymore.
It's
That
not, no.
for the community to be able to hear from the people that are serving them, and you're giving out practical advice, community risk reduction tips,
Hmm.
along with community relatability, so they know who these guys are. Talk about the different platforms that, as we started talking, and we came up with Firebreak Solutions to help in that area of need. The benefits are pretty widespread, from continuing to tell your story, from recruitment opportunities, again, community risk reduction. Talk about some of the benefits that you see as we pursue social media on a consistent level.
So you're absolutely right in that social media is not really optional anymore. It's, if you talk to the younger generations that are coming into the fire service, or even the younger generations within our community, and we're talking about people from really not even younger anymore. It's like 35 and below. And most of these people are getting a lot of their news, their information, their communication, their relationships are all through social media. So if you want to reach that group of people, then you have to speak their language. And social media is the language of that group of people primarily. So one of the big things that that we want to achieve, that we're working on achieving, is creating a common message Even in the fire service, and Texas Commission on Fire Protection has developed community education type curriculum. And one of the big things in that curriculum is to make sure that our messages are the same. So our messages need to be in line, so that way if little Johnny at the elementary school gets a fire safety speech of some sort or another from one fire department, and then he moves to a different community at a different school, he's told the same thing. And that consistency, again, there's that word again, consistency, is what really helps those lessons stick, especially in younger people. Yeah. So we've been able to achieve some of that through our social media platforms, and that redundancy, that consistency is just so important when it comes to community education and community risk reduction. For example, the U.S. Fire Administration produces a lot of common messages, and we need to repeat those messages. We have a duty to make sure that our community understands what to do in the event of a fire in their home, or in the event of an emergency of some sort or another, fire safety plans in their home and things like this. And that videography through social media is really what helps out. It's eye-catching. It doesn't have to be long. It can be to the point, and it really catches the attention of the viewers. Anybody from, teenagers all the way up through adults, middle-aged people. Yeah. So we've really been able to achieve a rapport with that group of people through social media and help make our communities a little bit safer.
Yeah, 100%. And so Firebreak Solutions was born just for that cause right there, to be able to tell those stories, but to do it in a personal manner. So it's actually your guys that are telling this story, not some generic messaging coming, from the national level, but personalizing it to that department and to that area.
Yeah.
So in your area, for instance, that personal message might be in Spanish and English for the demographic that you have there.
Correct.
And it's coming from your personnel. So for instance, here's one of your guys here doing a PSA on fire extinguisher and how to use that. So this is the type of stuff that we're doing. We're personalizing these messages now from these departments, strategizing the story that you want to tell. So let's get into what Firebreak Solutions actually is.
Okay.
And so, again, like you just said, it's not an optional. Social media is no longer optional. And so in order for you to do your job in keeping the community safe, it involves educating the community that you are serving.
Correct.
And so this is exactly what we want to do, is help you get your voice out there on a larger area. So how do we do this? Well, that's through engaging and educating your audience. So we want to help you show up consistently with life-saving content for your area that you're serving. The next area is to build trust and professionalism with you and your community with a well-executed social media strategy. And it sets you up as a leader in your community, a trusted voice that they can go to get this information from. And so that's another benefit. The next one is just staying connected with the community 24/7, not just when you're rolling on a call, but you're constantly communicating with the community around you and keeping them well informed. So that's some of the benefits that we're looking at doing with this platform. But when we do that, and when you start to tell your story on such a consistent level, you obviously have risks that are involved in doing that. So some of those risks would include inconsistent messaging. And a lot of departments, they have quite a few people that are posting on their social media accounts. And so with that, if they're not all 100% aligned, you might have different messaging that's going out because they're not all, communicating and on the same page with consistent communications, right?
It's interesting that you put this on here, because your audience is probably going to think that we planned this out, but we didn't. That the consistency that I was talking about is literally along the same lines as what you're saying here. It's funny that it was that the verbiage was the same.
Yeah. Well, I think you're struggling with something that a lot of departments, could be struggling with.
Oh yeah, it's common. It's not just us. It's across the United States and in different ways and different avenues. But yeah, I think the problem is similar.
Yeah.
Across the United States.
So that's one risk that you have is, doing social media on a regular basis could, lead to inconsistent messaging. Another thing is just lack of professionalism. If you've got different people with different skill sets that are doing the best that they can and using their cell phone footage and trying to make something of it, one careless post, where some guys in the Bay were having fun and doing a prank, but it could be taken the wrong way.
Didn't come out the right way.
Yeah, you've got bad press. So having some standard operating procedures that we'll develop for you, the proper approval system to make sure nothing slips through the cracks. That's what this system's going to provide. But we'll get to that in a second. Some other risks that you have is just exposing sensitive information. So, imagine, one post that reveals an address, or that license plate or that person's name or any type of sensitive information that's out there. We were working on some social media for a plumber who had used his phone and went to the backyard and basically exposed this family's, address, their assets in their backyard and left them very vulnerable after this social media post. And so for us to have standard operating procedures to know what's okay, what's not okay, and for everyone to be, across the board on the same page, we're going to limit those risks. So these are some of the risks in doing that, but the solutions and that we're offering is strategizing a consistent message. So we're not just going to wing it. We're actually going to have a place that we want to go, and having a strategy of where we are now and what we want to achieve in the messaging that's going to go out there in the months to come, with a long-term strategy in mind. And that's key. And so for East Tex, we're going to kind of go specifically what we're looking at for you guys here in just a minute. But other solutions that we're offering is just maintaining that level of professionalism. So your posts, when someone sees one post and another, it's recognizable. And so you've got a consistent message that's trustworthy, that's professional, and it puts you at the professional level that you guys are and that you want to be represented as.
Absolutely.
So that's important to us. And another thing is just guarding sensitive information. So the platform and the software that East Tex is going to be using will allow you to review every post so that we're preventing any mistakes that could be costly, and the proper approval systems for you guys to go through and check and make sure that nothing sensitive is going to get leaked is important. So that's another solution that Firebreak is offering. So the plan we talked about, here's a sample of the software. This is one from a church, but you can see their calendar of posts. And so we're able to get this scheduled out ahead of time. And right now you've got some great talented people that are helping with your social media posts. And they're going to continue to be able to do that. But we want to give them the tools and the strategy to be able to keep a consistent professional message that's well thought out. So we're planning our strategies, 3 months in advance as far as where we're going to go. And so this is just a glimpse kind of behind the scenes of the calendar view of what posts are coming up. Another area is that with that strategy is, this is one of the suggestions that we had for East Texas. Here's the different types of topics that we can present and that we can film with you. Now, this was just a preliminary overview of what's possible. Since then, we've had a discovery session with you, and we've targeted it more towards your needs. But some example posts of messages was like on February 4th here, we would do a tip on checking your space heaters for safe use and not overloading extension cords. So that's just a quick social media post that educates the public on how to do that. On the 7th, we've got a firefighter that grew up in the area and is passionate about serving the community. So a firefighter spotlight that's, produces relatability to him in the department or her. And then, this speaks on recruitment. You've got somebody that you can see and imagine, okay, I could do that path as well. Another post would be on the 10th where we share a story about a time that the fire department made a huge difference in someone's life. So now we've got someone from the community willing to share their story and brag about you. I mean, you guys can toot your own horn all you want to, but when you have the community that's there bragging on, how professional and how consistent, how your life, how your life-saving strategy tips on social media help them prevent a huge disaster, that could be a story that we're looking for there. On the 15th, we've got a PSA about the dangers of unattended cooking leading to cause of house fires. And then we go to the 18th with a tip on practicing a home fire escape plan with family. Now, that's one of those tips that a lot of people don't have something like that. So this will be a reoccurring, we'll tell this same story in a few different ways all throughout the year to really push your community to make a plan. On the 25th, we've got a tip on properly storing flammable cleaning supplies. And then when, national, things like, the Burn Awareness Week happen, we want to take advantage of that and make sure that you're telling the story about burn awareness in your local area, even though it's a national thing and they've got, media that you could borrow from. We want to personalize that messaging to your area and have you guys tell that story.
Yeah, and personalizing it is really the key, right? The U.S. Fire Administration can come up with all these mottos and slogans and programs and different things, but and our communities, they might catch wind of those, but it makes it so much more applicable to these individuals whenever in your community, whenever it's so personalized and they're saying, oh, well, I recognize this in a advertisement or whatever last week, but oh, my fire department is saying that I really need to do this. Yes. So it really, it really
personalizes.
Yes, it personalizes it, and I think it causes it to come to fruition much easier through our community.
Yeah, you see those generic messages sometime, and you kind of blow them off. They're not talking to me. That's just generic for everybody.
Yeah, but when your local fire department or your local law enforcement or your local EMS service says it's important, that kind of it really it reinforces the message.
Yeah, 100%. So that's just a sample social media schedule. So from there, you have a professional media production team that's helping capture this. And so what we're doing is depending on the package that's selected, going out on site, and we've got a plan, we've got the scripts, we've got teleprompters, or we're going to film the messaging for your content. So we've got options where you're posting once a month, where we're posting once a month, creating those posts for you, where we're posting every other day, or we've got options where we post every single day for that particular department. And so with the Eastex model, what you guys are going to be going with is we're going out quarterly and we're capturing messages for the next 3 months. And so we're getting those approved by you and your department, having those scripted out, having a plan so that when we're out there for that one full day of filming, we're being efficient and making the best use of our time. We already have the personnel lined up who's going to say those messages, and being on site and making sure that you're being cast in the most positive light possible, and it looks professional, it represents who you are. That's the goal. And obviously with fire service and being flexible with your time, and you might catch a call during filming, and so we've got backup plans of how we're going to come out another day or whatnot. But so far, we've really had a great response from your personnel to want to be a part of these pieces, and we haven't had people that have shied away, or there's obviously some camera shy people, but our goal is to make your guys natural and feel authentic when they're giving this messaging, and not on the spot with a bunch of cameras and hot lenses, where it's more so, for instance, training. We want them to actually be training when we're capturing those footage, so it is natural and they're actually getting something out of that, going through those rotations authentically, and not just staging it for the camera.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said about trust and who's behind the camera too, because I think the fire service in general kind of tends to stray away from being in front of the camera, because historically sometimes that didn't lead to great things. But whenever you trust the person behind the camera, you trust the person that's editing the video, you realize, oh, these guys they're going to make me look good. They're not out to get me. They're not out to make me look like I'm fumbling or anything. They're going to try to give us our best representation.
100%. Yeah. And that editing process of it, as we've had some firefighters that have kind of stumbled through those scripts, when we go back and cut out the filler words, they're looking like they know exactly what they're saying.
Yeah. They're proud of what you guys produce.
With confidence, 100%. Yeah. So with that, it doesn't mean that your own personnel still can't make their own posts. Absolutely. Correct. We encourage you to. And so in fact, with Eastex, we gave you a sample of a lot of posts that you can do on your own. And we're willing to help you and train you and your guys to be able to use your current equipment that you have to make it look the best it possibly can. So that way, when you're posting and when we're posting for you, that we've got a similar look and a brand recognition that you won't be able to tell who's doing what. And so that's important for us to get you trained up too, so that when you do post, that it is just like when we're posting, as far as the professionalism and the quality of that. So the sensitive information aspect of it, this is a post that you guys have done, and that we're proofing this for you, to make sure, and everything's tagged, great. There's not, a sensitive address or something that's on there, but having a drafted standard operating procedures of, here's what we can align to make sure stuff doesn't slip through the cracks. So that's one thing that we're currently working on for Eastex now, is so that we can all be aligned and know, okay, here's the parameters we want to stay within. And that leaves, little room for us to go outside those lines and potentially have some dangers.
Guidelines and procedures. Yeah. It's really important, especially to establish that up front, so everybody's kind of working towards the same goals and purposes.
Yeah, that's right, Chief. So an example of the back end of the platform, here's one of the posts that, always training for a community. You could see these three particular posts are branded the same way. We've got the same font going across all three. And so they each have a similar look to them, and they're all shot, professionally, and will be well received by the community. It doesn't look like a handheld, phone that was just, doing this, haphazardly. But we've got over on the left side, this is the platform that you and your team have access to now, where you have the captions that are there. And the beautiful part of this is this one post with one click will now go to all of your social platforms. So you're not having to take this and format it for Instagram, then format it for Facebook. That in one place we're able to go out, and this is just the beginning of what's so great about this is, yeah, it's going to save you a lot of time when you're doing these posts, but the system also has the approval process and you have right down there, I don't know if you can see it, but there's an AI caption option for when you're coming up with these captions, and we'll store the hashtags that you use on a regular basis. So when you and your team are making posts on your own, that you've got this tool down there to be able to look through that already has the hashtags built in place that are suggested for that particular post. But now we've got variations of AI. So you write it out the best that you can, and then you allow the AI to professionalize it, make it even better. But then, of course, we're going to proofread that as well. It's all about saving time, being efficient, and using the resources that we have at hand here. So these particular 3 tips, we've got this relatability with three tips for maintaining your chainsaw. I mean, the community that you have there, a lot of those people have chainsaws and would appreciate a tip from a professional. You guys, obviously use chainsaws on a regular basis
all the time,
and you know all about them. So to have someone who's efficient and professional that knows what they're doing with a chainsaw, that's a trusted source that I can get that information from. And that green screen shot that we saw at the beginning, that was the final product that you see there on the how to use a fire extinguisher. And so, we're creating a professional post that was actually entertaining as well. And
it was kind of funny.
And when you walk away from that, you know exactly how to use a fire extinguisher and how to. So after watching that, I've never heard the sweep. So we're learning as we do this too that once he said that should be something that everyone has been preaching with fire extinguisher. You should be printed on the side of the on the tank.
Yeah.
So from there, every time we're out at your location, we're capturing stills as well. And so you have this media library that you're able to access from. So when you are posting on your own, you've got this picture in the far right. You download that from our media library. Now you've got a community engagement post there on an event you have coming up. So we're providing you not only with the posts that are going out, but also this reservoir of media that you can pull from for consistent messaging that we'll use and you'll be able to use as well. So let's say if you have a need for headshots, so during the time that we're out there, we'll get everybody lined up and take as many headshots as we can at the time. Maybe your chiefs just need headshots right now. Whatever your need is, we want to custom tailor that ongoing media capture for what your current pain points are and what you need. That's just a sample of the media library. When you start getting into the engagement with the public and you have comments that are coming in, the software that we are offering the Eastex that you're going to be utilizing will allow you to monitor all of those direct messages and all of those comments in one place. So to quickly be able to see if there's any red flags or anything that needs to be addressed immediately. Because as you start to engage with your public, it's a platform to keep the conversation going, to keep educating them, and through the chat, it's never been easier. You're not having to log into each social media platform to chat. You do it right from one place on the software. Again, saving you time, being as efficient and as professional as possible, and making sure we don't have that post that's sitting up there, because I'm sure you've had this before, where you've had possibly some negative comments that might have sat there longer than they should have because you didn't have an easy way to get to them and enough people monitoring. So every comment that comes in, the appropriate people will get notified of that and be able to address that immediately. So this is the commenting, and then we go to the analytics, because every time we post for you, and every time you post, we want to see how that's performing, what's working and what's not working, so that we can pivot and make sure that we are hitting the demographic and the messaging. And so in your area, let's say that Spanish post is performing a whole lot more than that English post is performing. Well, okay, we need more of that then. And so we want to closely monitor it, and this is a way that we can see what's working, what's not working, and what continue to do better and what to stop doing. So not only just monitoring your impressions and your reaches, but for each platform and each post, really diving in deep to make sure we're being as most effective as possible.
Yeah, the data is so important, and there's a lot of data that's missed through a lot of organizations that are just kind of floundering with their social media platforms. And there are a lot of missed opportunities sometimes unless you have access to some of that data to understand what it is that your community needs, what your community wants, and what's really working the best. Yes. So absolutely.
And so we go over this with you on a regular basis. This is something that we review. We'll talk about that here in just a second, of how often we're reviewing this with you. So just to recap some of the solutions that we have, we want to help you engage, help, and communicate with your community, and improve the level of your social media professionalism, strengthen your presence within the community, and avoid the release of any sensitive information, and having an actual plan with a strategy to make the most out of every community outreach opportunity. with that, you have a dedicated professional media team that's working every day to help tell your story and to strategize your story and to see what's working, what's not working, and what we're going to do better so that it's ongoing and it's only going up. We don't want to be static and just stay in the same place with the same audience. We want that to grow. And you'd mentioned a pain point that you have of the calls that you receive to just go turn off people's water main lines. And so, during the freeze, you've got all these calls. You guys are running around, busy doing that when they should be probably doing some other things. Well, one social media post of how to turn off your water main, could potentially save you guys a whole lot of time of going out there and doing that.
Yeah, and that's actualized through operational calls. So you can see a difference whenever you're engaging with your community through some of that data and making sure that you're engaging with them in the right way. You can kind of mitigate some headaches and hassles. Not that it bothers us to go out and help the community, but for something like shutting off water or shutting off gas, especially after a disaster, can be very time consuming. Meanwhile, we have fires and full arrests that are going on that we really need to get to, but we have trucks and people obligated to some non-emergency type situations. Yeah, so it really does help with operational capabilities as well. Especially if you're able to establish that relationship up front. But that's the key, right?
Yes.
That's the key.
Yes.
You have to engage the community. You have to be in that relationship before the disaster occurs, before everything. So if you haven't established that beforehand, then you're going to get the same results, right?
Yeah.
So,
and that information came from us having a conversation and figuring out what exactly are some pain points that we can help address so that it's trackable. So hopefully when we, have instances like this, our numbers are going down on those response times. So that you can see, okay, this is working. Some people are watching this.
Yeah.
And that's the point, is to get, as many, people in your community to start, leaning into this, to see this is valuable information that I can use and apply.
And you can really kind of withdraw some information from the data, not just the data through the social media engagements and platforms, but how that correlates with your operational data. So if you see that, we've established some sort of a plan to educate the community on a specific call type or something of that nature, you can actually see the reciprocal data on the other side of, well, is that call volume reducing? Is it increasing? What happened when we did this? What was the result? And that, having both sets of data, that reciprocal information, can really help you make some really well-informed decisions.
Yeah, that's great, Chief. Good info. So when we offer how this could work for different departments, we have different departments of different sizes and different needs, right? So on a fundamental level, what we would want to offer is a posting schedule and an approval software with the custom social media SOPs that we talked about, monthly analytic reporting, a quarterly strategy session that we can figure out, okay, what are the pain points that we can address for this quarter? And we would give that department one quarterly on-site production day, a full day. And with that, we're creating 5 social media posts per month, and everything outside of this software, for instance, let's say you need a PAT test, video created, or more training videos, we're offering 10% off of all those other services as well. So this is actually what we're going to be doing for Eastex right now, starting in February. And so we've already got through the point where we're developing the strategy and the social media plan. I believe that's being approved right now, and we're ready to set up that first day of filming to grab the assets that we need. That media library that you're about to have access to, we also provided you with other suggested social media posts that you can make on your own. So when we're out there filming for our 5 posts per month, we're also giving you the tools that you'll need for your posts as well, so that you'll be able to have the tools. We're creating the templates, and your personnel will be able to access those same templates, put in those images, put in their verbiage, to make it as easy as possible for you to keep telling your story on an ongoing basis. So this is one of those where we're working together to do this, and we're working together on all of them, but on this one, we're doing those 5 posts per month, once a week, so that way you can then supplement, the other ones. As we step it up from there to our next package, the Growth Accelerator, this one, same thing with the post scheduling and approval software coming out quarterly, but with this one, we're giving you a little bit more. So we are doing 15 posts a month on those and extending a 20% discount on all other services. So on the Growth Accelerator, this is a department that doesn't have maybe the staff that you do and need us to do a little bit more posting and strategy for them. And then up at the top top end where we're pretty much doing everything, we're calling that the market leader. And on that one, we're posting every single day for the departments. That's 30 posts a month. Now, when I say we're posting for the department, we're giving you these posts so that the departments can review and approve them. So because we're having the discovery sessions ahead of time and we're in alignment with the strategy and the messaging, that these don't need a lot of revision sometimes. But sometimes you might have a first responder who's no longer with the department. So we filmed him, last month, now he's moved on possibly. So let's swap out that photo. So we want to customize it, make it relevant, make it current. And so that's what the market accelerator or market leader will offer is a post per month. And with that, of course, we're doing monthly analytic reporting, monthly on-site production, monthly flex days. So let's say, for instance, there's a department here locally that has a congressman that's coming in to do some training. It was kind of last minute, so they called us up. We want to get footage of this for our social media. So on that flex day, we're able to go out there last minute to grab that type of footage for them. So that's what the flex day means. And it's also included with the middle package as well. So our hope is to allow this platform to let our first responders continue to do what they do best and allow us to come in with some of the creative storytelling aspects. So it's not pulling personnel away that's stressing out and figuring out how to keep telling the story. Now, some departments that have, PIOs and people that are dedicated to that, they have a lot of other things on their plate too, besides just the social media. So we're coming in to assist them and give them the tools to make their jobs easier so they can be more efficient at what they're doing. So all types of departments of different sizes, and we're trying to come in at a level where each department can find some benefit in the value of what we're providing to do a whole lot with the market leader, or coming in to really be part of your team and give you a lot of the tools as well on the fundamentals. As we visit with different ESDs and figuring out their different pain points, there's not a one size fits all approach to everyone. Everybody has their own area that they're looking to have help, but across the board, again, social media is not an option, and every department should be taking advantage of telling their story and getting the word out there. So we're so thankful that East Texas entrusted us to come on and to keep telling your story and help you and give you the tools to continue making an impact in your area. And we're excited to continue this relationship.
Well, we appreciate everything that you guys do for us. Everything's been really professional and very helpful, and we've had a lot of great feedback, not only from our people within our organization, but I think from the community as well. It's really engaged a lot of audience that maybe we wouldn't have had otherwise. And on top of that, I think as media organizations go, companies, it's hard to find an organization that really speaks the language of first responders and emergency services. I think there are tons of corporations and LLCs and different companies out there that, they're geared more towards the private industry. And that's not to say that you wouldn't be able to do that, but it's hard to find somebody that really speaks our language and understands what it is that we do, how it works. And, if people, when people go with other organizations that don't speak that language, there's a learning gap that has to occur, and that takes time and effort. And I'll tell you what, we've been extremely happy with what you guys have done for us, and the fact that you speak our language, you understand what we do is paramount. So we appreciate everything.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Chief. For us, it's personal. Josh's, grandfather was a firefighter with Houston. My father was as well. And so for us to do this in their honor, to keep, like you said before, there's other industries for us to go into, but this particular lane is life-saving. This has a impact on the community that's measurable, and it's, long-lasting. So the work that we're doing for you, in some way, we're able to really benefit from the knowledge of knowing that we are potentially helping save more lives.
Oh, you
with
are.
this messaging.
Absolutely.
And that's so rewarding that we can have just a small piece in that to get the messaging out there, because it is impacting people for the better. And we're thankful for the opportunity to partner with you and for you entrusting us to keep telling your story. And we can't wait to track these numbers and see the measurable results here to come.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you, Chief.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we couldn't do it without you, and we appreciate everything that
Thank
you guys
you,
do for us.
Appreciate you.
You bet.